Five Union podcast, the only podcast that says no after you first. I'm here with Jason.
What the fuck was it?
I'm trying to think.
Are you trying new things
every time?
Oh, you just want sound bites now?
Yeah, well, sound bites we don't use.
Okay. The podcast that says no, you.
We have guests. Hello, guys.
Hello, guests.
Hey, how's it going?
Some incredible feature poets from Poets of Palestine. That happened a few weeks ago. And just good friends, good people to have around. Incredible poets.
Yeah, thank you, man.
And me.
Cheers.
I already said Jason's here as well.
I'm back.
I guess you haven't noticed.
Yeah. Hard to miss.
It feels weird being on this side because I'm like, before you guys talk and there's like the intro music and I'm like, I didn't hear it. So it's like, oh shit, we're starting. So
I do like to play that I hate to talk about my podcast on this podcast, but I'm going to talk about my podcast on this podcast.
Yeah,
I have my
please.
own podcast. Listen to that podcast.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
What's that podcast?
I listen to the intro music before I start. I want to come in with it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
yeah, it's like walking into the ring. You got your like intro music.
Totally,
You should.
I've thought about this as well. Like I've had, we will do the intro, we'll do the thing in a second. But like, I prefer to have headphones on. I prefer to listen to my voice playing back as if you're on radio because it gets you in that zone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge the custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I think it's very important to acknowledge and understand that, we get to come here and do a podcast every 2 weeks, but we are doing this on stolen land, and sovereignty's never been ceded, treaties never been signed with First Nations people of Australia. Australia's the only country in the Commonwealth that hasn't done so with their Indigenous population. And I just wanted to acknowledge the Palawa people of Lutruwita, which is the First Nations people of Tasmania, where I unfortunately grew up. You can keep going now, right?
I can't remember what we were talking about.
Your podcast.
Yeah, my podcast was fucking great. Any reflections on like any
Rice podcast,
any post Poets of Palestine feelings around your own work around performing that kind of poetry to a crowd?
This was definitely the topic that we picked, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like to have a topic in the back of my head as backup.
Oh, that's the backup. Okay.
That's the backup.
Okay,
It's
cool.
a great topic. We're going to go into that topic.
Okay,
Stay
cool.
tuned for another topic. For the time being.
I can't believe she did that. Stay tuned, part 2.
We're pretty close to becoming the drama podcast for the poetry scene, which I'm very.
Oh yeah,
happy
because
with.
there's so many other poetry podcasts that are.
There should be. There should be more poetry podcasts.
All right, so there's two conversations happening right now.
Yeah, sure.
Right, answer Ryan's question, please, both of you now.
Yeah, so after Poets for Palestine, reflecting back on it, it was just like a really good experience to share that space with the other people there. One thing I liked about it was, for myself, was the idea of being a feature and and evolving more in that space, like being signed up as a feature is good because you get to explore the space a little bit, feel it out. I feel more comfortable doing myself a little bit, like pausing in between poems, not feeling rushed, knowing that, I've allotted myself the amount of time that I'm going to go into. And so that's a good experience.
To be fair, you are the most, not in your poetry, not in your delivery of your poetry, but your stage presence here is the most rushed of any other poet that comes on.
I have a poem. Thank you for letting me do a poem. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah.
No, I actually...
I've got a poem about that. I might read that tonight.
Go on, that's it.
All right.
I actually heard
you.
Oh, sweet! I like that. I like poems about me. No, I actually heard someone put it a nice way the other day. So they were like, for supporting or open mics, it's like being invited to someone's dinner. And they're making a main course, and they've got the main already sorted. So you're just bringing an entree, and the entree is there to complement, not to overpower the night. So here, it's fun. I mainly come here to listen to the other poets and share a little bit and work it out and hear how the poem sounds on a microphone. But that thing of being a feature, it's now I get to take a breath and explore myself a little bit more, and that's what I like.
I'm sure we all host dinner parties all the time. There's nothing worse than having a dinner party or just a gathering of some kind and having someone who is kind of new to the group and is just dominating in terms of everyone's time and space. It's like
Takes more than 5 minutes to eat.
Yeah, and I think that's like you say it at the start of the night, like respect the space. And I think part of respecting that space is acknowledging that there are other people here to read, and we all have a little bit of time. And pass the mic on, and we're all here to gather and enjoy each other's work. So
Yeah, but at the same time, like you've got your own, like sort of slotted amount of time.
Take your time.
So just preemptively doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, because I get that, because you like, I don't wanna take someone's time. I don't want to take too much, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a very poetic thing to do that. I felt, and then. Because you're prioritizing everyone else. Subconsciously, you kind of like, I don't want to, and I'll read the rest.
Yeah. Save it for the open.
Yeah, but like I got that, and I feel like as poetic as it is, but you also you deserve every fucking second of that time.
Absolutely.
You work your ass off for it, and it's like, yeah.
I think it's good for that style of poetry. Like yours is very hard-hitting, direct, almost bombastic, I would say is a word that I would use.
Fuck yeah, do the electric boogaloo to my shit.
And so kind of coming on and just kind of being this explosion, which even at Poets of Palestine I felt like was the vibe. You gave yourself more time there. This was not the intent of this podcast to just pick apart your performance style.
Don't worry, we can edit some stuff out if need be. If it's too much.
But yeah, a bit of an explosion on stage and then just mic drop and dip. Whereas like it does actually really work for some poets who maybe have a bit more of a meandering kind of vibe to their poetry to come on and introduce themselves, maybe give some backstory behind the poem and then go into it, and it fits totally well. But then others,
Sometimes you just need to just go in and no foreplay, and just go straight into it, and then just go, I'm done, and then leave.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like you don't have to feel like that 5 minute or 3 minute or whatever that is. It doesn't really. It shouldn't. It's not the agency for the work. I don't think. It shouldn't be. It should be like, okay, I'm gonna do my. It's just a guideline of like when to know when you're going. If a poem's like 15 minutes, that's not the night for it.
That's not a poem. That's just a monologue. I think at that point. Well, I remember we did Slammer Vision last year, and I tried to do like Slammer rules, and as soon as you start talking, the time starts. No one stuck to that because they did because they were like, hi everyone, like this poem's about blah blah. I'm like, motherfucker, I said, and so I'm like, I can't disqualify half of where we had 12 people. I can't disqualify 6 of them, and so I was like, okay, well, as soon as the poem starts, then I'll start timing because it was for a comment we had to film it and it had to be 4 minutes or less. So I was like, and then everyone's like, yeah, cool, no worries, I'll stick to the rule. No one did. They were like, hi, my name's this, blah, blah, blah. This poem's about this. Blah, blah. And I was like 2 minutes talking, like, mate, I don't know, because obviously if they go to somewhere like Slammer Lama Ding Dong, they obviously understand it's been going for 10 or so years. Whereas here we just did it once and everyone was like, yeah, okay, we'll follow the rule. And just the first person didn't, and everyone was like, okay, well, fuck it.
A fair few of them had been here before as well. So like, if you had come to this space previously and then, this one we're going to have really strict rules and it's going to be really, really serious. I
realised that when I was like, well, this is not our rules. This isn't a radio talk. This is a Slammer Vision.
This is the United Nations has given us these rules to follow, and by God, we will follow them.
And by God, does the world love disregarding those rules?
Yeah, not everyone follows what the UN says. So
name one.
Again, it's just a guideline.
Name one personal country.
There's a rule of
on
thumb.
that, your experience of Poets of Palestine. Look at that segue.
Beautiful.
There we go.
Well, mine was a very special one because I actually sort of low-key rediscovered my father. For that gig, because I translated his poem and I didn't know he's a poet, and he sent me a few more after that. I think I read one of them to you, and I was like, and then I told him about your reaction, and I feel like all of this is sort of he sends me like more memes now of like poetry memes, you know.
Oh,
but it all yeah. So like I feel like he's starting something. He's getting into the thing.
That's such a beautiful thing, dude.
Yeah, man. Like that was really incredible. Like for me, but like other than that, of course, I felt kind of fulfilled afterwards, but didn't last that much. It was like, like freaking next day you wake up and you're like, what? I thought we'd done, you know. I thought that we'd already talked about that. But it's like not.
Right,
it's
right,
like
right,
very
right.
like obviously.
You mean
I'm exaggerating,
on
but
this
it's kind of
particular
like
topic, or in
subconsciously.
terms of actually, or
Yeah,
that
like
sense
the
of
way-
performance, like preparation for a
Yeah,
performance.
the preparation and everything that you like, all the sort of energy that goes into it, and then you're like, but it's still going, and then you realize, oh my god, it's been going for like 70 years or 80 years or something.
That feeling of being on stage and then even just walking off stage and being quiet is such a weird juxtaposition. Or going to the bathroom and just like, all right, I'm still just a person doing normal people shit.
Yeah.
It's such a weird. Yeah, I
Yeah.
find it really disconcerting, and people fall into depressions after like releasing stuff all the fucking
my
time.
God,
You know.
really?
I've talked about it because
the high of the dopamine hit of being on stage and then coming off and then
Yeah, I think
Is
like
that it?
there's. I was just speaking for myself, but
I was going to say, is this a self-report?
This
or
is a
it-
self-report,
okay,
but
yeah.
you can hear all about it on my other podcast. And I've spoken to other people who have released stuff, friends of mine who have released stuff, and there's that feeling of like you don't want to try and put too much expectations on it,
But you low-key do.
You have to.
you
You're
put your
still
heart
a
into
human,
it.
so you're going to think to yourself, I'm going to have people coming up to me after the show being like, that was the best thing ever. You're a fucking god. You're actually, I'm going to finally feel fulfilled as an artist.
Yeah.
And then you wake up the next morning and it's just the same. Everything's the same. And you haven't blown up on Spotify. And
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, that was actually
still
stop
broke.
spiraling.
Jesus.
Quick, everyone, follow Rye on Spotify. And
Quick, don't worry, I'm over it.
quickly,
I'm over it.
before things get dire.
but like, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's but like there's so there's also this like after a while, because I don't like with something like post Palestine or like poetry in general. Like I had that vibe with music because there's a lot more of that in music. You know what I mean? Fame and like bling is really a big. Even if you. Even if you're into jazz,
Oh, for sure.
even if you're like into blues,
My brother's a jazz musician and
it's
plays
everyone-
constantly, lives off playing music, and is just as depressed as I am about it.
I mean, like,
Is that because he plays jazz, or is it?
Yeah, it's because the world doesn't care anymore. The
He's
world
like,
doesn't care
well, this
about
is what I'm
jazz.
into. I want to do thrash metal, but
I think he sees the ceiling of how far it can go
The jazz
because
ceiling.
the jazz ceiling.
jazz ceiling. I've heard
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be like, as much as people might hate to think this, like like you were saying, there's got to be like so much ego attached to thinking that you're going to get on stage in general. I think there's got to be some sort of ego attached to that. Like,
course.
I'm going to get on stage and people are going to listen to me. I think
my
there's
God,
got to be
yeah.
ego attached to that.
There
And
must be.
how you harness that or how you like navigate that is, I think, the main thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like with trying to be a performing artist, like doing spoken word, you know, it's not like I'm saying it's a toxic thing, like necessarily. It's just like, like to want to share, I think is like, and
Yazzie
feel
told me about
comfortable that. I think like, there's got to be
afterwards,
ego attached
she was
to it.
like, Yazzie, my wife, she was like, it was interesting, like seeing you talk to all these people, and it was like it was a vibe to her, and I was like, ooh,
What, you talking to people in general?
In
or-
general.
Okay.
no, like, but like, and people listening, maybe that's the better. This is the more important part.
whilst you're on
And
stage.
Whilst you're on stage,
Yeah.
and everyone listening to what you were saying on stage, and I was like, I didn't think about that, but now I'm kind of thinking about that, but it also is not it's not motivating me.
Yeah.
Low key does the opposite. I feel like very high key does the opposite. It's like, oh shit, because it gives me the whatever that syndrome is.
Imposter?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
fuels
like
that.
the first,
I'm like, I
like
don't
one
know
of the
what
first times I ever had anyone come up to me and compliment me after I've read. I went home and my partner like had to like, you know, talk me off a ledge almost because I was sitting there. I was like, no, they're doing it to make fun of you, like coming up and being like patronizing, like, hey man, that was really good. Like that's how I was hearing it in my head. And my partner was like, the way she talked me down was like, okay, what's more realistic? That someone's just walking up, being supportive, being like, hey man, like I dug your shit. Even if they don't necessarily mean it, they're just being supportive.
Yeah.
And that's the worst case scenario. Like no one, you'd have to be a real asshole to walk up to someone and be like, good job, buddy. Like, you know what I mean?
And if they were being an asshole, they would lean into it more. You would really fucking know it because they would really put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will show in different, even sort of aspects of the like the conversation. You know that you will see, this guy is probably an asshole. So.
Yeah. And generally speaking, people don't give a shit. Like people don't care. People not paying attention a lot of the time.
Especially at open mics. It's like sometimes, you know, people are sitting there just waiting for their turn to read.
Yeah. I feel terrible because like people ask me all the time like, oh, how was my poem tonight? I'm like, look, in all honesty, I've been doing this for 3 years and like there's maybe 4 or 5 every night that I'm like, oh, that one really stuck with me. But at the same time, I'm thinking about like, oh, was that door squeaking a bit too loudly? Is everyone okay at the bar? Jason looks a bit stressed. Am I a bit stressed?
Yeah, but
am I standing weird?
That's just a given what I'm MC. If you stress, well, that's just okay, cool. We're good.
But everyone's doing that. Like I'm stressing about running the night, but there's other people who are sitting in the audience who are just like, oh man, I can't wait to get back home and watch reruns of MASH again.
Yeah, oh my god.
Yes, because our crowd is all in their 60s, and
MASH is a great show.
Hey, dude, Hot Lips Houlihan to the day.
Yeah, 100%.
This day.
This is why I like being sort of under the influence, kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even I'm not under the influence in these poetry nights, that part of that internal dialogue is like much more.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why I think I enjoy drinking so much is, let's just get into it.
Maybe
talking about weed or talking about...
Both.
Yeah, okay.
Like that's what's the influence, because I'm mainly a weed kind of person.
Yeah, weed speeds my brain up, and so I'll go even more further into that. I'll just be thinking constantly. I can't listen to anyone. They'll be trying to have a conversation with me, and I'm a million miles away. Booze slows me down, and I don't have that many thoughts, and so I can lock into someone's poem.
Whatever works really, so that's what it works.
Yeah, if it's heroin, do heroin. Like, whatever works for you, baby. We here at Vibe
It works for everyone.
Heroin use.
We're turning into a jazz podcast real quick.
Ride is not. What's the word? Does not speak for all the Vibe Union.
Just
if you're gonna do it, do it safely.
I watched a great doco recently about high functioning heroin users.
High functioning heroin.
Yeah, high functioning heroin users. It didn't paint it in a very good light. It looks like a miserable fucking existence, but you know it's out there.
Heroin exists. Get used to it. Okay?
Yeah, I grew up in Footscray in like the 90s and 2000s. There's not much high functioning going on back then. Like Jesus.
No, but I know because one of my friends was dealing with more. Like, is this gonna be a drug talk?
We can go anywhere. It doesn't matter.
But yeah, because
there's lots of poets who are.
But he was telling me he was. His explanation was the best. Like clicked the best with me because it was like it's so good. It's like why wouldn't I do this again? You know what I mean? And
Heroin.
it's like, okay,
Heroin.
all of these stuff. Yeah,
Right.
it's like they're so good.
Yeah.
Imagine all your problems, all your worries, all your anxiety, everything gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what he was telling
Is that the end of
me.
his statement? Or is there a caveat, by the way, it'll fuck up your entire
No, but
life?
then, but that's why you get hooked to it. Because
Oh,
even
for
though
sure.
it's so bad and it fucks your entire
totally,
life
actually,
anyway.
I saw another documentary
Because that's
about,
fake, you know? It's like, it's
about
not real.
ice. About ice. I saw an interview with an ice addict or ex-ice addict, and they said that's the dangerous thing about something like ice is that first hit is
freeze.
True. Yeah,
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Fuck, dude,
It's,
come on.
Couldn't resist.
It is pure euphoria, and so like why wouldn't you go back? And
Do you know one of the reasons you might not want to go back?
Yeah.
Because you don't have any money.
you really want to
Yeah. Segway king.
I don't have to. I just couldn't resist. I didn't have anything. I don't have anything else to say about drugs.
I grew up rurally. I know that lack of money does not stop an ice addict.
Do whatever you can to get drugs, kids.
Maybe there does need to be a statement from Vibe Union to say we do not condone our own words, the things that we say.
I don't think any of us. I don't know. I don't want to talk for everyone, but none of us are into hard drugs.
No, I find them absolutely exhausting.
But that's why, because I know that it's like it was for me. Because before that, I was like, what's it gonna do if I just try it once?
Well,
and then I was like,
that,
that's why I don't.
Even that thought of like how good it is the first time, because I remember like doing. We will get to the topic.
No, it's fine. No, we can just talk about drugs. It's all good.
Let's talk about drugs. We haven't done a drug episode. Talking like doing.
Because we're big drug boys.
I'm explaining why I'm not doing MD when I was younger, like 19, 20 years old. I did it maybe 3 or 4 times, and every single time I was like, this is bliss. This is the fucking best feeling ever, because that's chemically what it's doing to you.
Yeah.
But then the next week I spiraled. I was so fucking depressed, and so I was really scared when I first got introduced to it. Like, oh, am I gonna get addicted to this shit? I guess MD is not that addictive, but like it's still the mental addiction what you're talking about of like, this is amazing, so why would I not do it again?
Yeah, and associating like good times with that drug. So the next time you go to do that, you're like, well, of course I'm going to do that because that just goes with that. But I think like
that good times, that drug has been pizza for me at times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
But like,
sorry,
I think no. I was just going to say, like, I think within art and stuff, like when you're growing up and you've got the people you look up to, sometimes it's like those people are so associated with drugs. Like my favorite poets were like the beat poets when I first started getting into poetry, and they were so associated with like, like hard drugs. And it was like, well, look how inspirational it is. Look at the work that they produce while they're on it. It's appealing. And then you're like, no, they did that in spite of the drug use. It wasn't the drug use that made it happen. They were just brilliant minds that had fucking horrible lives that they needed a crutch, you know what I mean? And like, that's why I think, like, I made a joke, but like, drug addiction is a horrible thing, and like people obviously use it as a crutch or a band-aid to cover up other crap in their life. But like artists, like, it gets associated with them, but it's in spite of, not because of.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
but then
some of the greatest artists, when they've gotten clean, that's when they've made their great work, because they've got that well to draw on from stories, and then they're able to, like, with a clear and focused mind, produce some of the nicest shit.
I think that's probably actually the takeaway. It's the life experience you get from doing that kind of thing. You see a lot. There's a lot to tell. There's a lot to talk about from those experiences. But same as like very dark very dark version of this. But like amazing artists that have come out of like wars or stuff like that. Like they just experience chaos, real life, and then amazing art comes out that it could have been a different kind of darkness. But it's that idea of like some people, especially when you're younger, as you're talking about, is like, oh, do I need to suffer in some way to be a good artist?
Yeah.
Like, no, I think you just need to see and experience some real life. That doesn't have to be this darkness that you throw yourself into. There's other ways to do that.
I think like that's one thing. I heard a quote from Rick Rubin where he was talking about writer's block. If people don't know who Rick Rubin is, he's a music producer, Def Jam, all that sort of jazz.
His new book is fucking phenomenal. Actually, I haven't read it. I've read a bunch of quotes from it.
I think that's where this quote might be coming from, and I'm paraphrasing. He was like, there's no such thing as writer's block. Like, writer's block is when a creative is writing for an audience, even if that audience is themselves. And like, what I interpreted from that was, don't go out and try to find like, it's like, don't try to like write for an audience, write for yourself. Like, you can sit down and write garbage. That's still fucking writing. It's like when you start thinking, will my next poem kill its slammer? And then you're like, oh, well, fuck. And you try to write and it's trash, and like you think it's trash, so you just push it aside.
Yeah.
But I think the other side of that is you still need a well. You need to still fill your well. So part of being a creative is finding that inspiration. Like, you know what I mean? You can't just every day sit down and think you're going to write something dope unless there's something to draw from. So whether that's going for a walk or whether that's doing fucking heroin. sorry.
I was wondering how that was going to finish.
Yeah,
I'm like, is this advocacy for hard drugs or not? I was like, where are we going?
Advocacy for living life. I think just getting out of the mundane. I think a mundane life doesn't breed creativity.
Unless you're just a
Suppresses
fucking beautiful
it a
mind that can do that, like, and take yourself to view the world through that lens, you know?
What will it represent though? Like, what will it actually?
I don't think you can.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, but I think it's probably not going to connect maybe with a large audience. That's maybe a broad fucking statement. But
Depends on what people call like the mundanity of life. Like, I think.
Well, actually,
people have an idea of what it is, and then some people will read something where someone wrote about it, and they go, "Okay, this is interesting." Like, I know, married with a kid at 21, have a house, blah blah blah, settle down, haven't done anything creative, doesn't really any experiences other than being.
Well, you've got a large audience of other people who have gone through that same life.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of people have mundane lives in something thing, but then you can.
Subjective, mundane is subjective, but I think that's what I was thinking.
Mundane, yeah.
But like, the main thing for me is the fact of like not having ownership on your time. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the biggest thing. I don't much care about the task as long as I want to do it, and I'm there intentionally doing it. Or like I'm not. If I decide that at the moment I want to just sit and write a line. Someone's not going to come and fucking yell at me, why did you stop drawing those plans and blah, 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 what's happening to this, blah, blah. You know
so here's the segue. Because you are frustrated by the prospect of going back to full-time work.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I am.
The lack of ownership of your own time.
Yeah.
Sorry to outdo your segue.
Oh, I was just doing it for the joke.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's, because that's my biggest sort of dilemma. And I see it in a lot of, I had this conversation with, like something similar with Tabani. I've had this conversation with sort of, but you can clearly see it on Darby's like stuff. Everything is, and it's just making so much sense, and it's just making it bolder and bolder in my head. So this time, I want to own my time. I understand that you want to pay for it, but I rather you pay. First of all, I don't want you to pay as a creative. I don't want you to pay for my time. I want you to pay for my thoughts. Because I can sit here and draw like a square.
It's like that thing that's saying like you're not paying for the performance that you get to witness. You're paying for all the work that got that artist to be able to put on that performance.
And like as an entrepreneur, if you're a sort of smart entrepreneur, you would get that because that's what you want from your creative sort of team member, to be there, the outside of the box thinking, and bring those ideas in that are like $1 million ideas or blah. But this is the conversation I once had with my
So,
boss.
are you 40 hours a week now?
I am 3 hours a week.
You need more time, bro. God damn.
Is that why you were early today? Fucking hell.
You're always late.
Oh my God. Was that 3 hours starting at 2:30 today?
That's great.
No, but honestly,
Self-report that one, yeah.
But that's the thing, because I'm balancing out. Now I'm loving it.
Balancing the time.
Since that, I'm so creative. I'm like getting up every day. I'm fucking
That's
I'm
why
gonna do
it's
this. And like
creative.
I've started to get new like music themes, which is something that had happened for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Like a melody that I'm like, oh shit, this is new. I wanna explore this more. Ideas that I wanna explore more, but at the same time, I'm fucking broke as fuck. And I'm like, I don't wanna. What the? But like.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like on that broke thing, like I work 40 hours a week. For some reason, I'm still fucking broke as hell. But like, I was...
No, what's that before? It's
But like, I was so broke.
all heroin, yeah.
I haven't, But like, I hadn't eaten a protein for a couple of days. So like, I had this egg in my fridge and I was like savoring this egg. I was like, fuck yeah, this egg's gonna be dope. And then
You just wrote day 5 on it. It's all right.
Dude, I was savoring this egg, right? And then I caught up with
the chicken.
I caught up with some mates, and they're like, "Oh, yo, we're going for drinks." I'm like, "Dude, I'm dead broke, can't." They're like, "Oh, we'll spot you some beers." And I was having this conversation with them. I was like, "What's the best way? What's the best way to cook this egg without losing an egg? Because like scrambling an egg, you're definitely going to lose portions, and it's like hard boiling an egg is the best way to keep like the egg
Full
intact
full
and
egg,
get the
yeah.
most bang for your buck out of the egg. So I did that, and I'll tell you, hard boiled egg.
That's only if you know how to peel a boiled egg properly, though.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't. I'm not listen.
I watched the YouTube tutorial.
Yeah, you want to put it in ice water so it streaks away from the shell, and then you know.
Sorry, that was a weird tangent.
No, that was a great tangent, and and now I'm in the mode
I'm
of just
like
like,
the Jaws
that's a
island.
perfect little bit, nice little clip.
Oh yeah, 100%. Just to go. That's going. That's
Yeah,
flipping that one.
As soon as the word egg dropped, I'm like, well, that's a good. That's a.
no, you don't want to drop the egg.
This
Chickens,
is
I
100%
love your
my
work.
mindset, though, that like, to my own detriment of maximum amount of time available to being a creative, which I'm also really bad at now because I do so much with Vibe Union, so I end up filling my schedule with, arguably, it is creative stuff, but then I don't write as much poetry and rap as I would like to. But there's you're trying to find that balance between amount of time, because if you want to be creative, it is an everyday process of like getting your head into that mindset every single day.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
If you're like if you're very skilled at it, that you can summon the flow, that be like, I'm not there. I'm not.
Do you
not
feel-
there. I
do
don't-
you-
I-
do you
I haven't-
feel-
Few people are.
Do you feel
People
as a
are.
multidisciplined artist, it's good? Because like, for me, it's like, I got to be in the headspace to write poetry, but you can pick up a guitar. You can write a rap. You can write a poem.
Yeah.
So do you think that's a better thing, or it's just as difficult, like to get into that space of creativity?
I think I'm probably pretty good at deadlines and like knowing that like I've only got like 2 hours to do a thing, and so I need to do this much in this time. But that doesn't change if I'm happy with the outcome. So I think there's still that sense of like, I mean,
do you feel like you do a better? So you're more productive when you have that deadline in those 2 hours. Like if you didn't have a 2 hour deadline, but you spend 2 hours, you feel like you'd be
I think
less happy with the outcome that you would when you know that this is the end.
I think there might be a pitfall for people who do have a lot of free time, and it's absolutely a privilege to have a lot of free time. But it is also if you have that chance to have a lot of free time, you are sacrificing something else, which in this case we're talking about money, because I have no fucking money, but it's absolutely like I can go work at a cafe. I do work at a cafe 1 day a week. I can go get some money. I have...
Which cafe?
So it sounds like I just go get some money for the cafe, come home.
Yeah.
I was like, which cafe, and do they need another bartender?
I can... I have a lot... If I wanted to, I can cut out a lot of stuff in my life and have way more time to just sit around and go, I'm going to write something today. Here we go. And just kind of potter about a little bit. But I think having a lot of time, there is that pitfall of like, taking your time with everything. If you set those deadlines, then it kind of forces you to utilize that time. Otherwise, you always have tomorrow. You always are like, I didn't write today, but that's all right. I've got tomorrow. I didn't write today. I've got tomorrow. It's all right. I think you do need time. If you want to do this kind of thing, you do need time. You can't. Some people are magicians who can just like conjure up amazing things while they also have a full-time job and a family and all kinds of other shit going on. I think for most creatives, they need to designate time for themselves.
Just having a new producer, like you were saying that you're working with a new producer, has that changed your style or your way of looking at?
A little bit, because I try to get as much done before the egg boils.
10 minutes.
Obviously, I'll joke for like 10 minutes there.
10 minutes.
I always say to Ryan, like, I hate hearing my jokes back, because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, they're hilarious, so I'll listen to them back. Anyway.
Good luck for your
It's
type
so
5
true.
coming
I
up.
got myself a good watch that allows me to do that. It's a timer watch. It has like a visual timer, and it's the best. So
It's a watch that tells time.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of the egg boiling, because it helps. It pushes. I'm like, there's something happening positive, so I feel like a little bit less stressed to do something with myself, because everything needs to go perfectly at every time in my head. Like there needs to be something productive happening continuously, or it's fucking bad.
Like you
know what I mean?
So you just don't meander in a space.
Yeah,
like you like
yeah.
to see the clock tick.
Oh my god, yes! I like to see seeing the clock tick gives me
weird,
that time.
bro.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does gives me that
As
time.
a counter to what I even just said, I hate that. I hate that.
Yeah,
If
like-
I'm really in the zone of writing or something like that, I flip my phone down. I don't want to see. But I still look. I obviously instinctively reach for it now. Because the age we live in, well, it doesn't matter. But like, you reach to check Instagram and like, oh, there's also the clock, and now I'm thinking like, okay, but you know, I've spent an hour doing this. I should have done more.
I should add
Can I
this
give a weird
caveat.
time analogy? Is it really inappropriate? Or?
Can I just give this caveat first?
Caveat, I'll give you a mic,
Because I
right?
wasn't talking about creative work. You're right about
You need
creative
to-
work. I can't do that
you
when
can't
I'm
talk
writing
if you're not
music.
on mic.
Yeah.
But when I'm editing music, or like, you know, that kind of jazz, like, or if I do for work, for example, like draw a plan, that's the perfect thing. I gotta see it, because otherwise I'm like, how much time do I have? How much time do I have? That thought is sort of distracting me a little bit. I don't know.
To answer your question, Antonio, that you asked me, what was it?
This segment.
No, I was asking,
something
like,
like, yeah.
you're working
I made a
with
joke and then we all just riffed off that. Yeah.
you're working with a new producer
Yes.
now, so.
Hold on. We'll get Paul.
We have a fifth,
Oh wait, yeah.
We'll get
It's
Paul
like,
to do his thing.
fifth
it's
guest.
like Trevor Marmalade in the old footy show. We got the bar.
Paul has words of wisdom.
It's not really my thing, but it's a strange analogy as well. But you were talking about time and whether it's sort of wasted and stuff like that. And you know, there's that whole concept of if you're waiting for something, time takes forever, especially if it's something you really want. And if you're you know, enjoying something, then time slips out of your hands and whatever. That creates a bit of a paradox in itself. But it just reminded me of a John Cleese quote, where he was at university at Cambridge and he was studying philosophy. And the first question he was asked in his philosophy class was, "Is the glass half empty or the glass half full?" Which is a poignant question. And they had an hour to answer this question, and so people were writing frantic notes and going through all these sort of different philosophical and logical sort of, you know, conclusions. And he turned around and he said, "Well, it depends if you're drinking or if you're pouring." And I think that kind of relates to time as well, you know. So that's my 5 cents.
That was very well
like
said.
this.
That's dope.
There we go.
That was good. Yeah, it does.
In 2 weeks, everyone's poem has that line in it now.
No, it is. Yeah, man.
But yeah,
very
no, I
well
was just
said too.
asking you about
yeah.
just working with a new producer.
Yeah.
Has that changed your style? Has that inspired you to write differently or more? Or
I think
anything,
it inspired me to write a little bit more because we do it every 2 weeks, sort of stuff. So sort of trying to get some things down. I think, but also, I think it does. Yes, but then with like side of that, like Ryan and I are doing Funny for a Poet as well with the comedy stuff. So that also is helping me. I like to write different things. So I'll half do a poem and then go, I'll go do something else, do lyrics. And then now I've got this comedy thing. I'm like, okay, now I can do a bit of 5 minutes of bullshit and like whatever, and then go back to the song and stuff. But having that deadline definitely does help sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to do this. Like I'll do it with every now and then when I'm emceeing, I'm like, I just want a new poem that I haven't done before. And I'm like, okay, this is good enough. And then I'm like, and then I'll reread it. I'm like, no, I can scrap half of this. And then I have the basis of an actual poem that I could do for Slammer or make it better. And then I can use the rest of it, either throw it away or use it somewhere else. But I'm like, I just want to get something out. And then I do it. And I'm like, it was all right. But I'm like, I just wanted to do the night. I wanted new shit. So
that's the gold of open mics, right?
Yeah.
Just hearing it out loud.
and then I go, oh, that's
feeling it.
gross.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Oh shit.
So,
yeah.
Better, better than meandering about, perhaps. But I still think there is worth also to that of taking the time to procrastinate, again, meander, explore concepts without really having a final outcome to show at the very end. I don't know. I still, I don't know. I believe very heavily in the value of setting your own personal deadlines when being a creative, but at the same time, having the time to kind of fuck around is also really fucking important.
Yeah, exactly. And like there are different stages to a creative project as well. Like there are times that you're conceptualizing, and then there are times that you're like producing, and then you're like, you know, marketing. So so these do require like different type of time management. Like I can't, like that's why I had to add that caveat in because I realized that no, I'm not doing that when I'm being creative. When I'm writing a song, I can't put like a deadline.
Yeah.
It like some of them have taken 3 years.
That sense of kind of exploring a little bit, exploring your own psyche, exploring these concepts, that might take longer. That's like, and I think that's going back to the kind of the chaos of life. Like part of doing this kind of stuff is also just going out and living life. And so that's kind of hard to put a timer on it. Maybe sitting out and having some drinks with your mates, or spending time on a train and just riding on the train in that kind of environment is a very different place than now you're into the studio and you have got this deadline. That is a place where you might be able to shut out all these other thoughts when you've got that deadline. You got and you can get maybe your best performance out. But the place to explore that, I find a deadline on that. I find a clock ticking on that. It can be quite detrimental.
I noticed that with the next poetry book that we're doing.
Yeah,
a lot of the people that we asked, they were like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I want to do it, exciting," and then it was being like, they're like, "I'll get it to you next week," and then obviously things happen and people don't. So we prompted a lot of people, and they eventually like, "Oh, this, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to submit," because it's like at the end of the day, what you're submitting is published in that book, and it's so people are going to read it. So that's what you were like. We think this is what I want. This is the best thing that I think that needs to go into the book now. And I'm doing the same. I still haven't submitted my poem yet. So I'm like, part of me is like, well, what? Yeah, we right. Yeah. I mean, yes, we have. You get a free book. Shut up.
Actually, I might have something.
But like, even in my head, I'm like, oh, I might be able to write something better than this. But I'm like, oh, is this one the best one to go in the book? And I'm like, oh, there's something here that might be good. I'm like, well, you can't just keep going, okay, well, maybe that eventually, because like, we got to get stuff like, and I think I've noticed that with like 75% of the people that I talk to, like, oh, I just don't know I'm conflicted, don't know what to do.
I think that's, sorry.
No. Yeah.
No, I think that's that pressure that people put on themselves where it's like, this is my last chance. There's other opportunities. If that's the thing that you're proud with on the day of submitting it, submit it, and then the next day submit something else to somewhere else and just keep that ball rolling, and don't think that like, you know, all your like everything, all the stakes are weighing on this one thing, you know? So like just put it out, and if you're proud of it today, then you should be proud of it forever kind of thing. I don't know.
The truth is that you never know what thought you're going to have tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you can't say that this is my best, because literally you might have a better poem tomorrow.
Exactly.
And that seems to be what happens.
So it's always going to play on your mind.
Yeah,
so,
I'm just thinking like that. I'm
guys,
actually completely the opposite. I'm like the type that wouldn't.
Yeah, like with that, I gave you guys two to choose from, and they were like completely different styles. It's like, oh, whatever fits tonally with the book makes sense for you guys, take it.
One's a Taylor Swift diss. That's probably the one we're going to pick.
Oh, man. So we were talking earlier. We were talking before the podcast, and I was just saying,
What time does it clip it?
yeah, and I was just saying, like, you know how Taylor Swift was in Melbourne recently? Yeah. After the Taylor Swift concert, I was coming home from the bar, and I was like on a bunch of mushrooms and sitting on the fucking train surrounded by Taylor Swift fans, and I was just like sitting there trying not to laugh my ass off, giggling, because I was like, how gross must I look? This fucking high old man surrounded by all these happy kids that just see Taylor Swift.
Just euphoric and high on Taylor Swift.
Just high, and I am just filled with mushrooms, sweating and giggling
just
my ass off.
Just a little gremlin in the corner of the train,
I sucked.
These people filled with hope.
It made me dislike Taylor Swift more. I was like, no, she sucks. Her fans suck. Like, this whole situation is awful, but it's also hilarious. Like,
It's gone.
On that note.
Oh. Was that a wrap it up?
I don't know.
I was going to say that, like, I'm sure we've all got a mate who has who lives in the meander, who is always going to release something and never ever releases anything. You've put work out. You've done things.
and half the time they're like the most talented person. You're like, oh my god, please do something.
Half the time.
Yeah. There's a freedom in it. There's a freedom in, because there is no final. I'm wanting to bring it back to the to the feeling of post performance or post release or post something like that, right? You know, a big milestone, because it is that sense of like, oh, that's locked in time now. That one's out there, and I can't change it anymore. I can't do any edits. Like and people's observations and thoughts on it are locked in now. Whereas if you kind of I've got something coming. And you'll beat yourself up about it. You'll be like, I really need to put something out. But there's also that fear of like, oh, that's finally getting locked in. And when you don't ever have to face that final fear of presenting it. It's almost, sort of like the misery, And I think I've seen this in people who complain that they're not creative because they're working a full-time job. And this is not everyone. Some people, it entirely depends on how your life is structured and your own set of situations and privileges and stuff like that. But I've seen people who I know who have a very similar life to me and always like, but I got to go to work. I got to do this, got to do that. And I wish I was releasing more. I wish I was being more creative and stuff like that. And I think you're actually really comfortable in that barrier because you don't have to face that final frontier of putting the thing out.
As a person that wasn't creative because he had a full-time job, to a person that is more creative but still not to my expectation, even though I don't have a job, I can completely attest to that. I started realizing that okay, so but why is it that I still wanna, I'm still like not, I don't, it's like the question started changing. I realized that it's not just my time, it is more things regarding me that need attention, and I need to, and now they're on my radar.
I think it's worth analyzing in yourself. Like, do you actually want to, again, that trade-off between time and money or what have you, like to, it's going to sound so stupid, but like to be a broke artist and just dedicate your entire life to that craft is not easy, but it does come easily to some. Because the alternative seems impossible, and that's me personally. That I can't work a job. I feel sick. But at the same time, I also find it really frustrating when people I know who actually like that routine and don't want to put their entire life on the possibility of somehow making money off their art or becoming a freelancer or something like that. They don't want that stress. They want the simplicity of just going to work and doing the thing and then creative stuff on the side as a hobby, as just an expression of their soul. But because it's tied into, but if I want to be a true artist, I'm supposed to be pouring my heart and soul into it. I'm supposed to be famous or broke but passionate. And it's like, no, you just need to realize what lifestyle you want to live.
I think that's the worry. People are like, well, I'm working full time and I need money to live, and putting 30, 40 hours into being creative a week instead of working. He's going, I'm not going to be able to, I won't have any money. So therefore, it's sort of a, some people are put in circumstances where being creative is sort of really the only option they have, sort of thing. Like it's.
And some people are put in a situation where they do not have the option to be creative. They don't have the option to have 30 or 40 hours to put into creativity. And I'm solely speaking on the people who I grew up with, who I know could put more time into it if they wanted to. And I question if they actually want to, or if they would actually stress the fuck out not having that kind of money.
I think people would.
Like, I've got $60 in my account at the moment, and I'm thinking about, okay, so that's a burger from Lord of the Fries, and it's a couple of pints. I'm going to be okay. And other people are like, holy fuck, my life has fallen apart at $60.
Yeah, like, that's so true. It's just like, some people would look at that and be like get into that feeling, oh, I'm a failure, like even, like, you know what I mean? But
I've got a little bit.
I think but it's also just like, yo, am I fed? Am I safe?
Yeah.
Have I got a roof over my head? Am I able to create?
Yeah.
All's great.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I've got good situations. Like, I've got people around me that take care of me. So, like, I'm very lucky. Again, this is based on the situation and your own set of privileges. But
you got two podcasts.
I've got 2 podcasts, and they're both bringing in huge bucks.
Yeah, all that privilege. Double privilege. Double podcast privilege.
What is a white man if not at least a few podcasts?
There's the start of your comedy. Yeah.
Just some walking around podcasts.
Mobile podcast. There you go. Well, that's his live stream. That's just
that's just
in their live. That's yeah.
Right.
All right. I think that's
Okay,
maybe
cool.
That might be
All right.
Because
Thank you,
I just want to say there's a lot more that we can talk about this. I didn't want to ask any questions because I feel like this is going to be outside of the time. I feel like we're running out of time.
Or you'll just have to be back.
Yeah. We
Because
definitely have to
I'm liking
continue
the
this
regular
conversation.
guests. I want,
Watch for part 2.
Part 2 of this.
I don't know when.
And I'll probably talk about all this on my own podcast tomorrow, and it'll be better.
Stop plugging your shit. Thank you for watching. Music by Sixpence.
Subscribe to our Patreon, baby.
Yeah, give us money so we can buy stuff,
Yeah.
do stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've got my
guys.
eye on
We
some
can eat it.
microphones that are going to improve this setup so that people don't need to keep putting the mic close to their face.
If they just did it properly, it would be fine. But
Also, I don't need to look. Anyway, so subscribe to our Patreon so I can elevate the content so it's better for you.
yes, it's
for
all
you.
about you. Yeah, let's gaslight them to give us money. All right.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.